everyone, welcome to another episode on my YouTube channel. My name is Queen and I am with the wonderful Brittany Harmond, who is going to be on the show today. She's going to be talking about branding, which is a very important topic. I think if you learn about branding, it's going to really help you to take your brand to the next level and you're going to become more successful as an entrepreneur. So I want to say thank you, Brittany, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and a privilege to have you on this YouTube channel for this wonderful interview.
I'm excited to get started.
Brilliant. So tell us a bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? I mean, obviously I know you, I know where you're from and everything, but for those that are watching right now, they might want to know where you're from, what you do, how you got into this whole branding, this branding, how you became a branding expert and everything that you do in terms of the film industry, because Brittany is actually in the film industry. She makes films and she's just really, really, really talented.
Thank you. Well, in a nutshell, so I'm from Toronto and I've been living in France for almost 8 years now. I've mainly been in the South and now I've just made the move to Paris. I've been a performer my whole life, so I've always kind of been in the realm of show business, and I've always loved film and telling stories and just people in general. So really when I was creating my business, I felt like I was like multi-passionate and multi-talented and had to find a way to like bring these together and kind of like package myself in a unique way. So I do work a lot with actors, and I also work with entrepreneurs and authors, really just leveraging like what is unique about them and then finding ways. It's actually very similar to PR in the sense that you're finding ways to leverage what's unique about them and then like emphasize that actually in the media or however they present themselves. So yeah, I've been making short films. I've been in festivals. I'm also an actor. And
brilliant.
Yeah, I feel like the personal branding, it almost just makes sense. Like it's just inherently a part of what I do. And just because growing up being in show business, like dancing and acting, it's not kind of like a natural skill that you acquire, I guess, because you're always having to think like, how can I be the best, or what makes me unique, and how can I put myself out there? So yeah.
That's amazing. I think that's so good. So tell us a little bit about your acting career and how did you dive into that?
I think it's just like a calling. It's something that I've always been into. Probably like self-expression is what I've really been called to, so I find different ways to express myself. I was a professional dancer for 10 years, so I toured all over the States and Canada dancing, and then at one point you kind of have to retire because your body just like, it's something you can't do your whole life. I mean, you can dance, but it's on your body. And then it's really when I went away to school that I studied film and theater. But before that, I had an agent. I had been doing, small roles in Canadian productions. And a little bit of, when I moved to France, I mean, obviously it was different because I had a visa, so I wasn't always authorized to work as an actor. So I kind of had to like find my ways around it. But creating this business allowed me to not only express myself creatively, but stay in France and make a living and still do what I love. So, yeah.
Beautiful. That's really, really good. So, okay, so another question I want to ask you is about branding, I guess, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, they may not really understand like what branding is. And I know that sometimes we think it's to do with the logo or to do with the, the fonts on a website and so on and so forth. But what is branding in your perspective, and what branding tips could you give to entrepreneurs out there that would like to take their brands to the next level?
Sure. Well, I think first and foremost, branding is a visual and a mental impression that you leave on someone. So you kind of have this double aspect of like, yes, the visuals are very important, but it's also kind of how people experience your brand. But I think if I was to put it like in one like concise sentence, I would say a brand is designed to communicate who you are, what you do, and why you're special.
Oh,
And
wonderful. I love that. I love that.
yeah, concise.
Yeah, very, definitely very precise.
I have 4 tips that I would say that would really make you be a standout brand. The first one is just that, having distinct visuals.
Okay.
Number 2 is a compelling story. So whether you're a personal brand and using your own story or a corporate brand, you're always incorporating stories anyways in the branding. Number 3 is it's like your brand is about you, but it's more about them than you. It's about how your ideal customer, client, audience, following relates to you. And I think that you have to have like this inherent, like you have to be a people person and genuinely love working with people. And then number 4, I think, is like having longevity and, you know, really being around there for to stand the test of time. I think that there's so many businesses that, you know, start and then close. But I think a brand is about leaving a mark. So it has to last.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, 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 very interesting. And when you, like, there's just one thing I wanted to quickly, like, ask you about longevity, because that's a really good point. Like, a lot of brands that are really successful, that stick in my mind when I think of the word a brand, I think of straight away, you know, Virgin or Richard Branson's brand Virgin, but even him, I think of him as a brand as well.
Yeah.
And then I think of like somebody like Mariah Carey, I think of Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Apple, you know, and like you said, it's because they've left a long-lasting impression on my mind. They've been around for years, that I can recognize the sign somewhere, or whether it be the product or the service is really good. So what brands do you think are really killing it in the entrepreneurial space? Like maybe some small ones and some big ones, like, so, but and you know,
I mean, I feel like the obvious ones, I mean, I'm going to say like Marie Forleo, Gina Davis, obviously, but there's a ton of small brands, and I didn't research, I can't like think of something off the top of my head, but yeah, like, I think that even if you look at, for example, in the online space, people proposing online courses, like, I'm always going to go back to Marie Forleo just because she was one of the first people to really like shape that online landscape.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously no one can replicate her, but I just feel like she's just timeless in her brand. And I feel like her mission and her vision is so strong that you know that she's not going to disappear. Like, she'll only evolve her business and her brand, but she won't. I mean, she could retire B school for all we know, but
yeah,
it's just a part of who she is. And I think that's also really important in a brand. And especially when you're hiring out for someone, like, why are they in business and how does it fit in their life vision and mission?
That is so powerful. It's true, because when I think of that, I think of, like you said, even if she retires a certain product or service like B School, she can still live on. She will still be remembered as Marie Forleo. Whereas like with brands, like you said, the ones that don't have the longevity, they could just like fizzle out and nobody will remember them if they didn't have that, if they didn't stamp that mark, like leave a mark.
Like a one-hit wonder. I mean, it's...
Yeah, exactly. yeah. So I guess another question I'd like to ask you is really to do with the fact that most entrepreneurs sometimes struggle with attracting clients. And I wanted to ask you, you know, what could they do to basically have a brand that really pops in a way that it does help them to attract like clients and more sales in their business?
I like this question because I think, I mean, this is going to sound like an abstract statement, but I think that a powerful brand sells itself.
Okay.
What I mean by this.
Yeah.
I have in my video series, one of the videos is titled, like, people do judge a book by its cover, and I crossed out like book and cover with like, people do judge a business by its branding, because it's the first like contact you're going to have with them.
Yeah.
So I think like inherently your brand should make you stand out. And I think that really in this day and age, some people might criticize social media, but I think it really is opening up like this opportunity for us to like have that dialogue and be able to talk and understand each other. And we don't live in this like bourgeois way where people want to talk about like their feelings or anything before. And so we're really using ourselves as a brand to like be like the vehicle for, you know, whatever our business is and attract those people. And, you know, obviously, like, there's using stories, there's having great photography that really showcases who you are, which I would say, you know, avoiding, one of my little tips about photography is avoiding those, like, you know, you go on a website and they're just smiling or laughing. Like, it's great, it shows who you are, but like not enough, because everyone can just stand behind a camera and smile. Like, you want to show more about like the behind the scenes of your life and kind of, you know, whatever your hobbies are, for example. I mean, one of the things that makes me somewhat unique is that I am Canadian living in Europe, so I do bring a lot of like Paris and France into my brand because that's where I live. And so it just kind of like makes sense for me.
That makes sense.
But I wanted to give this example just because we did go through Gina DeVee's program, which for me was, you know, that was a $1,400 Canadian dollar program for me, and I think I didn't like have to be sold to, because I like Gina DeVee's brand speaks to me. Like, I speak the language of her brand. So when I made the decision, like, the money was not even like really part of my decision-making process.
No.
But if it was someone who I didn't know and had to get on like a sales call with, even if they offered the same thing, same price, then I might have to be like sold to. And I think that's the case. I mean, it's not that your branding isn't on par or anything. Obviously, it depends on the person. But I think like a powerful brand will just sell itself.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, you don't really, and I agree with you. I think I had that same experience where it was just like, it's not that I'm not going to sign up. It's just when am I going to sign up? Because it's like, okay, I know I'm going to sign up. I mean, and even if I don't sign up, if I didn't sign up to her course, I would still, like, it wouldn't be because of the money, like you said. It would be more like because of the fact that maybe I was doing another course, that maybe it was a situation where I was, you know, maybe doing something similar, but with somebody else, with maybe another coach that I really admire. But it wouldn't be because I don't think that her course is really good, because I know I don't have to be, like you said, sold to. I just know the content, and I'm, you know, I really love Live and Luxurious. Yeah, I really do. I'm excited to keep going through it. So one last question, or just before I ask you where they can find you and everything, I wanted to ask you a little bit, I guess, like, there are two different ways that I want to ask this question, which I kind of didn't think of this before, but as you mentioned this, it just popped up in my mind. And, you know, I think a lot about like brand protection, and that's something that I talk about a lot in terms of the PR side. And I think a lot about like how people sort of go on social media and rant and sort of get into these Twitter feuds and stuff like that. And from a PR perspective, I do get annoyed sometimes, because I just do think that there is so much at stake when people, and I think it's important to have a voice. I believe it's important to share your views and say what you think, but at the same time, also using the wisdom to know that you have fans, you have followers, you have, maybe there's some politicians watching or some people that would want to work with your brand, and they could be like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to work with you anymore. You know, what do you think about that? Do you think that it's important to protect your brand? Like, can you just go around and do what you want when you have a brand? Or is there a sort of formula as you rise and have this brand? Do you have to protect it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that triggers me. Like, I could go on about this forever, but totally. And I think that this is a generalized statement, but I would feel like the most professional brands out there, I'm just going to take Marie Forleo, but for example, I don't see her engaging in that behavior, especially like with the most, like the recent election and whatnot. I mean, it's just insane, because, you know, you read comments out of context, whatever your belief is. I mean, it's different if you're having a conversation face to face with someone and you don't have the same political or whatever views. But when it's on social media and you're leaving comments, like, people can just read that and understand it out of context. Like, whoever, you know, you support, Trump, Hillary, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I think that people will judge you for that. I mean, I've actually defriended a lot of people since the election because I don't want that spam in my news feed. partially because it triggers me and partially because I just feel like it's a lot of negativity. I think that you have a responsibility as a brand to be a role model. And I mean, you take the examples of like the Disney stars, like they hit age 20 and then they all want to be like massive drug addicts and like rebels. And it's like, I get that people want to like live their life and have their freedom and whatnot, but I just, yeah, I think that you do have a responsibility being in the limelight to sort of set an example. And obviously what goes on in your private life, I mean, is private, but I'm pretty big on like being authentic and whatnot, but I also believe in like this notion of the public persona and what you should share and what you should not share. And yeah, definitely leaving, just even in Facebook groups, like when you're helping people or giving people advice, like the general tone you have people can make judgments just based off of that.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, it's true. I mean, sometimes I'm going to admit that sometimes I'm a little bit guilty of, I think I'm quite opinionated, which I didn't know I was, but when I notice things pop up on social media, I'm like, I want to say my piece to that. I want to chip in and answer and leave my comment too. But then one thing I do think is I do have more boundaries when it comes to Twitter. Like, I feel like when it comes to something public like YouTube or Twitter, or not even just YouTube and Twitter, I feel like I think more when it comes to a public domain, because I think whatever I say out there could be screenshotted and, you know, and plus there are more eyes. I feel like there are more eyes on certain platforms than others. Yeah. When you're on certain platforms, when you're on your Facebook, it's like kind of like you and your friends. But when you're out there on Twitter, if it's public, it's really public. It's really like hashtag, anyone can find you. And I feel like the bigger your brand, the more responsibility you have to protect it and to think about like the lawyers involved, to think about your fans, your followers, your family.
Even, I mean, this is like a very controversial statement, but like Meryl Streep at whatever that award show was a few weeks ago, I mean, regardless of like what I believe or not, I felt like that was highly inappropriate to like make that speech. Like, you're accepting an award for your work, like don't dump on your president. Like, I just feel like that was so inappropriate. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean I support Trump or what.
Well, not, no, it's not about that, but you're just like making a point. But it's really, really tricky to talk about things like that. But yeah, I think it's good. I really wanted to find out what you thought about that in terms of brands, because I do know a lot of the women watching here or men watching here are probably wanting to evolve their brands. And I know that they always say that new level, new devil. So the more you go up, the more you have to think about like how you will protect your brand as well.
Yeah, my boyfriend is an actor, and he did like a really famous TV show here in France, and he actually had to sign a contract. You know, he had to make his Facebook like an open profile, like his pro page open profile, but people couldn't leave comments. And just because like it's all about image control, which can seem like sketchy, but I mean, at the end of the day, like he ends up then representing the TV network.
That's the thing.
So
yeah, that's the thing.
He has to be really careful even sharing his views sometimes. I mean, it's a complicated thing, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's in the online space with entrepreneurs is like I think the biggest mistake is they don't consider themselves as a brand. So like they can be super rude to people publicly, and people love taking screen caps and making posts and videos and live streams about it. And they just don't realize like you do need to sort of, you know, curate your image in some way and control
what absolutely.
Like I think that's a huge mistake that people make in the online space. So I mean, I get Facebook. This is so funny, but this is random. But I get, you know, how Facebook shows like memories from like years ago. Like I actually have to sometimes like go and like delete stuff off of my Facebook from like 10 years ago because first of all, I didn't have this business 10 years ago. Like things that you would not even say, like it's just inappropriate.
Do you know what? Honestly, my family sometimes call me and say, "Why did you write that on Facebook? Like, delete that," you know. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, like if they actually think that I need to delete this, maybe I should listen, because it doesn't just affect you, it affects the family, it affects your friends. You know, whatever you do, whoever represents you, whoever stands by you, if they think it's cringing or if they think that it's not helpful or positive or whatever, it can affect everybody. You know, so yeah, I think it's really, really good that you're talking about this and that you're addressing it. So how can everybody find you? Like, where can they go to find you in terms of, like, I know that you're bringing out a video series. Tell us about a bit about that, and how can they purchase this video series, and how can they work with you and everything like that?
Yeah, so right now I do have a free training called your Brand Story Bank training, available on tamararevolution.com/brandstorybank. This really helps you to craft social stories and craft your main brand story. And then the 7-part video series is $7, 7 videos. Into me and how I work. 7 short videos under 10 minutes each, just giving my best advice about creating a top-notch brand and actionables that you can actually implement, because I'm really keen on not just, you know, giving advice and then people like not knowing how to actually implement it. And then my main service right now that I'm offering is my Brand Story Intensive. So it's 2.5 hours, you know, working with all different types of entrepreneurs, authors, really, you know, defining what actually is their brand story, defining moments that got them to where they are, and then pointing how that relates to their ideal customer and client, so that like they can actually attract clients effortlessly just because their story.
So
and a lot of that, I'm super creative, so I do a lot of brainstorming for photo shoots, brand videos, and I mean, if anyone's here in Paris, I do shoot brand videos locally. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm up to over the next few weeks and months.
That sounds wonderful. So everybody, make sure you get Brittany's video series that's coming out. And it's only $7, so you don't want to miss out on it. And, you know, if you need that strategy session with Brittany, the branding one, to be able to get more clients and have more sales in your business, then make sure you book Brittany as well. So where are you on Instagram? And do you use anything like that, Snapchat?
Yeah.
I know you're on Instagram.
I'm very big on Facebook and Instagram, and I'd say a little bit of Pinterest.
Brilliant. So I'm going to link all of her links below, so make sure you click on them and follow Brittany. Thank you so much, Brittany. Do you have any final words, by the way, before I let you go?
Oh my gosh, like, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything. I don't have anything coming to me.
Okay. Go and do it, people.
Start where you are.
I love it.